Hi, my dearest family. So today I'm going to be talking to you about Mars in Cancer, and it will be squaring the nodes. So the reason why I picked this topic is because Mars will be spending quite a lot of time in the sign of Cancer. Altogether, it's going to be approximately 7 months due to its retrogradation. So this is quite an intensive period of time. So I'm going to be giving you some dates here. Mars entered the sign of Cancer on 4th of September, and then it will leave the sign of Cancer on 4th of November. It will go up to 6th degree of Leo, and then it's going to go retrograde on 6th of December. And then Mars retrograde will enter again the sign of Cancer on 6th of January. And then it's going to go direct on 17 degree of Cancer on the 23rd of February. And then we'll leave Cancer on 18th of April. So you can see that it's going to be in the sign of Cancer for 2 months to start with. And then from January till April. So we've got another 4 months. So a good 6 months in the sign of Cancer. So that's quite a lot of time. So what we will do in this video is that we're going to be looking at some historical events. I did a little bit of a research when it was the last time when Mars was squaring the nodes, for example, in the sign of Aries to in the sign of Cancer. So basically, I looked at when Mars was in the sign of Cancer and the nodes were also in Aries and Libra. So therefore, they formed a square again to be able to get a little bit of a feeling of what we might be able to expect from this. So this is going to be the agenda of this video. So please stay till the very end because you will have loads of information that you might need to be able to digest. But before we do that, I wanted to make some super cool announcements also. One of them is that I am running a quite massive end of summer promotion. So you can get readings on a discounted price, as well as you can get webinars and courses on a special discounted price as well. So please do so. Do check it out on my website. There are two super new cool courses coming up as well. One of them is about family patterns in your chart, where I'm going to be teaching you what are things that you have learned from your family and how they are affecting your life currently, and maybe some healing as well coming with it. And also, there were special requests about me teaching synastry course as well. So I have put together a 10-week synastry course as well, which is going to be starting, I think, somewhere in November or 6th of December, actually. So on the day when Mars is going to be turning retrograde, so I'm going to be teaching you about synastry matters as well, and that's going to be a 10-week course. So if you are interested in this, please check it out. The next announcement is that if you would like to get a reading with me, as I said, it's discounted, but my diary is going to fill up very quickly. So I recommend checking it out in advance. Okay, so let's get started with this Mars in the sign of Cancer. So one more time, let me give you the dates to start with. Mars enters the sign of Cancer 4th of September, going to be leaving Cancer on November 4th. It goes retrograde on the 6th of December, and then it goes back into the sign of Leo on 6th of January. Gonna go direct on 23rd of February, 17 degree of Cancer. And then it leaves the sign of Cancer on 18th of April, and then it's back into the sign of Leo. So these are really important degrees, especially if you have got any planets around 17 or 18 degree of Cancer, just because the planet is going to be stationing on that degree. And therefore, it's going to be spending a lot more time on that particular planet. And therefore, it could be a bigger topic for 2025 for you. but also if you've got any planet around 6 degrees of the fixed signs. So Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, or Scorpio. Check those out because that could be very important for you. So let's break down this archetype a little bit. What is actually going on? First of all, Mars in Cancer is not doing too well. Because imagine that we've got the planet of Soldier, and the planet of Soldier should not be clouded by its own emotions. It's kind of like the soldier is trying to fight while they are crying. And obviously, when you are crying, your vision is a little bit blurry. So, or Mars is the killer. And Mars should not feel, in a way, guilty or emotional while killing someone else. So Mars, for many reasons, it might not be doing too well in the sign of Cancer. Or just think about nowadays the army. You go to the army and then your phones cannot be with you, right? Because they don't want you to be affected by your family. For example, they want you to concentrate on your own training. Cancer is a water sign. And Mars higher octave is very much about protecting something. So this could really talk to us about the protection of our emotions, the protection of water. But at the same time, the outburst as well, because of certain type of emotional disturbance around us. But also you want to be protecting your home, your loved ones, your family as well. That's what Mars pretty much does in the sign of Cancer. Cancer represents your home country, as well as land and real estate industry. So this could show certain type of struggles, for example, in the country I live in. So therefore, many of us might start thinking about relocation, for example, or escaping from a situation. Obviously, it comes with an element of a struggle as well with our emotions, because at the end of the day, leaving your roots behind is something like a very heavy decision to be made. So definitely Mars, who has got an ambition. Mars is all about wanting to achieve something. So maybe Mars wants to realign with the emotions, for example, here. But it's going to be a retrograde Mars, which is very much about having to revisit something in our life. So having to revisit our own roots, having to revisit the real estate industry. So I feel like real estate industry might become quite volatile overall. Sometimes the prices are up and sometimes it's very much down. Why I think that is because Cancer is very much about your mood and the mood fluctuates. And Mars patience is also quite fluctuating as well. Obviously, sometimes it needs to retreat and sometimes it has to attack depending on the situation. So it really shows that things are going to be a little bit all over the place. It could really talk to us about conflicts, for example, in our countries, for example, conflicts with our family as well. Also, Mars wants to cut things out. So sometimes it says that we need to cut ties with certain type of family patterns, for example. Uh, it is an emotional period for many of us because it feels like you have to leave something behind. And when you look at the symbol of Mars, it's a circle with an arrow pointing outwards. So that also shows that uh, um, um, we tend to be projecting our anger onto others as well. So when we have got this emotional turmoil going on within us, then we might be projecting that onto the people we live together with, as well as to our family. So a lot of conflicts within the family could be a topic also. It looks like Mars is kind of like, stirring things up. So it can feel like that I don't have that emotional security anymore. I don't feel safe. And when you don't feel safe, then you are quite reactive and you react in a very emotional way Your emotions are judging you, clouding your judgment, and it's very easy to make mistake. I also would like to mention something interesting because it feels like, I mean, first of all, Mars is going to be out of bound as well for a few weeks. I'm going to give you the dates exactly. I forgot to take notes of that. So let me just quickly have a look. Yes, so Mars will be out of bound until 25th of September. So first of all, what is an out of bound uh, planet? So first of all, it can feel like with out of bound, basically out of bound means that the planet is traveling beyond the usual declination of the sun. So it is kind of like the king's rules do not apply to you. So when a planet is out of bound, it is an energy of unpredictability. It kind of like feels like it has got a conjunction to Uranus, and then it becomes more eccentric. So what does it mean to have a out of bound Mars? Mars is first of all about action, what drives you, what motivates you, what pushes you forward. It's basically about passion as well as anger, what fuels you in a way. So when the planet is out of bound, all those energy could become quite heightened. So you can get more impulsive, you can get more of an achiever. You can even become highly volatile and rebellious as well at the same time, especially in the sign of Cancer, because Cancer is led by its emotions. Imagine it's kind of like the mama bear type of archetype, really. Someone hurts my children. You know what? I'm going to go back and then I'm going to beat the shit out of that person. And there is no thinking involved here. So there is a lot of emotional response. Cancer is kind of like a crab, right? It has got a shell to protect. So there is this defense mechanism as well. And while Mars is in the sign of Cancer, it protects by projecting the anger onto others. So it is more about attacking rather than, kind of like trying to calm the situation down. So you might defend your home country. This is one of the reasons why Mars in Cancer is about patriotism as well, because you want to be protecting your loved ones. But also, you are very driven to actually create emotional security for yourself. You tend to be putting your logic a little bit aside while Mars is in the sign of Cancer. And then every single decision you make is led by your deep emotions. So heightened emotions, you can be crying with no reason. You don't know why, because you feel threatened. It's again just like the animal world, because Mars represents the survival needs in our chart. And the survival need in the sign of Cancer is that I have to be protecting my offsprings no matter what, but I also have to be raising them as well because, they are vulnerable. They cannot protect themselves. So I have to be doing that type of job. So it could indicate situations in the world, for example, that they are going to be increasing somehow, like security systems at the borders, because Cancer also represents lands, because someone feels threatened. What if there is going to be an intruder? What if someone tries to attack us? So it's a little bit of a war zone-like type of energy, to be frank. But also with this Mars, you can be focusing on anything connected to your home environment. So maybe you want to be fixing up your home. Maybe you want to be installing a security system, for example, as well. You can even channel this energy into something that you feel like you can you be passionate about, can bring you happiness. So these are really, really important ways to work with this Mars. But there's a lot to mention about this. So when I'm looking at the Cancer archetype, which also represents the past, and Mars retrograde is also something to do with the past is coming back to us. So it looks like we're going to have to be able to deal with past issues that emerged a very long time ago. Just think about how the crab moves. It's kind of like moving forward and backwards, like two steps forward, one step backwards. There's an element of a hesitation here, as well as an element of a fear. You know, the tarot cards come to my mind, the moon tarot cards, number 18. We've got two dogs barking at a crab, and the crab cannot actually realize that I've got two scissors, and I can actually damage them pretty much. This Mars in Cancer feels like I'm tiny, but I'm also very strong at the same time. So one of the questions that might be coming out up here, whether you are able to cut out the past from your life, or which direction to go, or even cutting out certain type of fears as well. Also very interesting that Cancer is the representation of midnight. So this could really talk to you about, of course, midnight, what you are meant to be doing. You're meant to be sleeping. So Mars can be actually messing up your sleep patterns as well. And but Mars is kind of like I cannot sleep type of energy. But Mars in a night, because Mars is very hot, at midnight, the temperature actually cools down. So the anger starts cooling down or it changes quite a lot. When the sun comes up, all of a sudden I'm angry. When the sun goes down, all of a sudden I'm a lot calmer, or the other way around, doesn't matter. It's kind of like the battle with your tears. Whatever is going on around us, it just makes me cry. And Cancer has got one focus. I just want to live in a comfortable home under the same, like different generations. We want to have a happy life. It doesn't have necessarily so much of a wish, because I want everyone around me to be safe. So we can get very motivated to figure out how to create that safety for myself and for others as well. Cancer represents your roots. So sometimes this is about the revisitation of your own roots, where I come from, what I learned from my parents. Also, with this Mars in Cancer, it can feel like that I get defeated by others. My needs are not important, and it pisses me off. I mean, if you think about that Cancer, who is a mom archetype, it's always about the needs of the kids. But Mars is kind of a selfish energy. It's about self-entitlement. So we even have to find, a balance. How much I'm basically watching or looking out for myself and how much I'm looking out for others as well. While Mars is very much about, I'm going to do it myself. Cancer says, let's do it as a family unit. Cancer also represents your memories. And so Mars retrograde can bring back certain type of memories as well, which you haven't dealt with for a very long time. Now, Mars is in fall position in the sign of Cancer, but it has got certain type of positive traits as well, just like every single energy. So we can, when I put the keywords together, such as family and fight, this becomes social. It can become a social worker, for example. Or Cancer can represent children as well. So, what it could represent, and Mars, according to some astrologers, it represents a certain type of father archetype, things what we learned. So it could even represent a dad who plays with their kids, or making an emotional connection to the past, making sense of that. Or with Mars, we want to be initiating togetherness within the family. Or Mars, which is the planet of sport, and Cancer is pretty much the pond and water, so it can make someone good a good swimmer as well. But obviously, Mars is very fiery, while Cancer is very watery. So it's kind of like, boiling the water type of thing. So that's going to start evaporating at one point, and the water puts the fire out. So there is a bit of a challenge here. How to bring the emotions out without hurting others? That could be a major question. The watery manifestation of fire is the source, the origin of life, the continuous fertility, the source of vitality. So this is very much about the survival needs to be met. But with the fire, we purify something. So this is telling us that we're going through an emotional renewal here. I mean, also, it really, because Cancer is about emotions and Mars is the courage. So it looks like we're going to have to be courageous to express our anger, learning about the courage of heart, learning to express how we feel. It's a little bit of a passive aggressive type of energy. So, you know what? How are we going to balance that out? It is also telling you that you have the rights to have needs. Validating and defending your need is just very important. This could bring up some family secrets, for example, or it can tell you to take real action, to follow your heart desire, to think about what makes you happy. Cancer also can represent the body because its ruler is Moon, and Moon can represent the body. So how to protect the body? So it's emotionally very defensive. So it looks like patriotism is going to be quite a big topic coming up. And you have got this increased strength to protect your loved ones, to care for others. Social workers' job role can become, different, for example. Mars in Cancer only fights when it's really needed. And it's going to be fighting once the territory or the home environment is at risk somehow. Often it comes with a lot of guilt as well to fight back. So maybe you might be using guilt to keep things in check too. We fight for our needs. It could represent domestic violence, for example. Mars also is sexual desire. So it could really talk to us about uneven sexual desires. So sometimes we have no desire at all, and then sometimes we go overboard with it. It could really talk to us about a mom who is emotionally manipulative. Because Mars rules two signs, right? So we've got the Aries and the Scorpio. One is the male archetype of Mars, and the other one is the female archetype of Mars. And the Scorpionic Mars would be very much about, okay, so I'm going to take revenge. I'm going to have some calculative moves, how to hurt you the most. Slowly but surely, I'm going to stab you and I'm going to make sure that that pain is going to last for a very long time. So that's why this Mars in retrograde in the sign of Cancer brings back certain type of issues from the past. It could also indicate that you can do DIY around your home, for example, or you are competing with others for emotional fulfillment, or you're doing something so that others start paying attention to you, especially your loved ones. So there's a little bit of a self-centeredness with this also. Maybe I'm not talking much, or I'm crying in a corner, but I make sure that everyone notices me though. And then I'm going to be checking out what type of feedback I receive from others. Or it could even indicate that I'm fighting against, becoming a mom type of archetype. So there is a lot of possessiveness going on with this, a lot of passive aggressive behavior, especially when they feel like that there is no support coming from others. And when the territory is, somehow threatened, and then there are intruders in our family home. It could even actually indicate, unfortunately, a struggle, to have your own home. So you might be worried about how I'm going to be paying the rent, how I'm going to be paying the mortgage, and all those type of things as well. Often these people take painkillers. They're gonna try to choose ways to let off the steam. It could talk to you about that you feel like that you have to oppress something or you're getting oppressed by others. Cancer is also something to do with food intake as well, especially the emotional eating type of thing. So we might be stuffing our own mouth with food to be able to, kind of like calm ourselves down. So addictions problems often a big issue. Smoking, alcohol, drugs, and all those type of things. It's a very nostalgic instinct. A Mars in Cancer, often a single mom. We have to be working extremely hard to provide to our children. So, inwardly security is one of the big topic. It's about anxiety of certain type of separation from my loved ones. We pick a fight when our emotional needs are not met. Okay, so these are some of the keywords, but very important to mention that we had some dates when Mars in Cancer was also squaring the nodes, just like it's going to be happening, by the way, on the 15th or 16th of September. So I went back in history and I looked it up when it was happening. Well, first of all, we had one in 2006, 20th of April. So again, the nodes were in Aries and Libra, and Mars was in the sign of Cancer. We had one in 1987, June 4th. We had one in 1968, July 11th. And we had one in 1949, August 19. So you can see that every about 18, 19 years, actually, we're going to have the same square happening. Mars in Cancer squaring the nodes. So I started looking up what was going on, for example, in 2006. And this 2006 is actually very important because we also had eclipses in the sign of Pisces as well as Virgo. So it looks very similar, just like now, the sky. We had the Israel and Lebanon conflict going on. Montenegro became independent from Serbia. We had price disputes about oil prices, and then basically Russia started cutting off oil from Ukraine. These were some of the major topics, but also there was an extraordinary economic growth in China and India as well. That was one of the most significant economic and political development of our era. So that was the rise of China and India. Let's just focus on this Israel and Lebanon conflict for a second. One of the reasons is because you will see that Israel, Iran, or Iraq, so the Middle East, are actually popping up in all those dates quite significantly. So the next topic is 1987. And basically, there was this guy called Terry Waite, a special envoy of the Archbishop of Canterbury in Lebanon, is kidnapped in Beirut. And we had a US stock market crashes on Monday, October 19th. And that was the biggest crash ever. Basically, the stock market dropped 508 points, about 22.6%. We had the Iran and Iraq war as well in 1987. And that's exactly what was going on 2004 to 2011 also. We had the Iran and Iraq war going on. I went back to look at 1968 too. Well, Soviet Union invaded Czechoslovakia and arrested the president. There was the assassination of Martin Luther King. We had the US Senator Robert F. Kennedy, who was assassinated also. And then we had the anti-Vietnam War demonstrations, which actually turned very violent during March in London, in England. What you see is that unfortunately, Mars in Cancer often brings a war zone energy. And it looks to me that this is going to be somewhere in the Middle East. So, am I a little bit more on the pessimistic side? Unfortunately, I am. Because you know what? This Mars in the sign of Cancer is all about patriotism. I want to be in service to my country. I want to be able to create a family. I want to be creating safety. And when I feel threatened, then I have to take action about it. When the lower manifestation of Mars in the sign of Cancer can be all about playing the game of the martyr or indirect aggressions. Or I'm going to just tell others, oh, I will save you, no worries. So there's that nationalism going on with Mars in the sign of Cancer. Mars will be making some aspects as well, though. So it's going to be squaring the nodes on the 15th, 16th of September. Then it's going to have a trine to Saturn on the 30th of September. Then it's going to make a sextile to Uranus on 25th of October. Then a trine to Uranus on the 28th of October. And then we're going to have an opposition to Pluto. And actually, that's going to be happening 3 times, starting on the 3rd of November. And I'm a little bit worried about that Pluto and Mars opposition as well, to be frank. So let's see how that plays out. But it's going to be making two sextiles to Mercury, two sextiles to Mercury. One is on September 9th, and then we've got one on 2nd of November. But so when you are looking at the nodes here, so obviously the nodal axis is very much about the directions that we need to be on. So what direction to go, how to grow in our life, and also what needs to be left behind. And with the Libra being activated here by the South Node being there, you know, it looks like certain type of collaborations are going to be cut out in our life, and we're gonna have to be able to create new connections. Or with that North Node in the sign of Aries, I can only count on myself. So it looks like that someone gets betrayed by someone I cared for. Someone who said that I was going to be your partner no matter what. And then unfortunately, when the shit hits the fan, then I'm not going to get the support from you. So I can only count on myself. So also it could really indicate, because Libra is also about fairness. So it's kind of like an unfair treatment, diplomacy questions as well. So it could indicate certain situations where, like foreigners are refused to enter the country, or refugees could be a big topic in the next 7 months. I also looked at while Mars is making the square to the nodes, uh, if there are any other asteroids involved. Well, yes. So I looked at that too. And we have got Isis. Its astrological number is 42, and that is on 7 degree of Capricorn. So maybe it's time to talk about what Isis actually represents. Well, Isis was the guardian of it was an Egyptian goddess, and she was about devotion, magic, and fertility. She was about children protection. She had the ability to resurrect, to unify. So there is a little bit of a Plutonian type of tone to her. She was able to reunite she was able to reunite the dismembered parts of her husband's, Osiris's body. Basically, what happened was that her husband got killed, and then she, just went on to find his body part, and then she put them together. So obviously, there's an element of magic here as well with her, as well as the devotion. How far I would go to be able to do something. So that would be a little bit of a story behind it. So what it really tells me actually is that when I have to be protecting my own blood, I'm gonna go really far with this. So this asteroid is really pretty much talking to me about, protection again. And also we've got a series uh at the same degree as well. Still, now we have spoken about series quite a lot before, so I don't necessarily want to be, you know, mentioning it all the time, but that's also something to do with attachment to our mother. If you just think about Persephone and Pluto's story, and she went the very bitter end to get her daughter back. And then eventually she managed to strike a deal with Pluto. And then she had her daughter for 6 months. And then Pluto had her as well for 6 months. It really felt like a life and death type of situation. So this is some type of political boundaries, political issues that are happening there. And unfortunately, it might lead to certain type of, kind of like a little bit of a war zone. I think it's going to be affecting the Middle East, to be frank. I know I'm a little bit more on the pessimistic side today, but this is what I'm seeing, so I had to mention it. Guys, thank you very much, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.